The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
This is a reading of the Holy Gospel according to John. Pilate went back into the praetorium and summoned Jesus. And he asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus answered, "Are you saying this of your own? Or have others been telling you about me?" Pilate retorted, "I am no Jew. It is your own people, your own chief priests, who have handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my subjects would be fighting to save me from being handed over to the Jews. As it is, my kingdom is not here." And at this Pilate said to Jesus, "So then you are a king?" Jesus replied, "It is you who say I am a king. The reason why I was born, the reason why I came into this world, is to testify to the truth. Anyone committed to the truth hears my voice." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
The passage we have here as the Gospel is taken from the Passion according to John, which is the Gospel that we hear every Good Friday. So every Good Friday we have went to as a Catholic throughout our lives. We have heard that proclamation of the Passion. This section of the proclamation may not have been one that caught and kept our attention, because it is about this dialogue with Pilate, who was the praetor of Palestine under the Emperor of Rome. It was his job to try cases brought to him by the local political, religious establishment, either Herod, who was the puppet king, or the Sanhedrin, which was the religious authority of Palestine and all of Judaism. And it was the Sanhedrin, of course, that brought Jesus to Pilate for the simple fact that they could not kill Jesus under Roman law. Roman law kept capital punishment to itself, so that only Romans could kill other people of subject nations. They couldn't do it to each other. Rome alone had the power to do that, and so that was the only reason why the Sanhedrin took him there. And so Pilate, in dealing with the Sanhedrin, and of course all the rallying cry that they had warmed up, heated up, and were now getting to the point of starting a riot. And so Pilate, in his interrogation of Jesus, had to come up with some capital crime that legally would permit him to kill Jesus. And so he focused pretty obviously on the capital crime of Jesus claiming to be king of the Jews, which he never did. At least in all the testimony of all four Gospels, Jesus never ever claimed to be king and never ever claimed to be king of the Jews. But that was the label, the title that the Sanhedrin put on him, because they knew if there was any evidence of that Pilate would have to kill Jesus, because he would be a threat to Roman authority. He would be a threat to the empire and to the emperor. And so here we get this interrogation of Jesus in a way that we don't get in the other Gospels. Okay? And it's about this notion of king. And that Pilate obviously gets this from the Jews themselves, not from his own accord. Okay? He retorted, "I am not a Jew." Okay? If I were a Jew, that would be different. But I am a Roman, so this means nothing to me except that you might be a threat. And so Jesus denies this claim that he is a king of the Jews, that he is a king. And when asked what had he done, Jesus talked about a kingdom, but not himself as a king. And a kingdom that specifically is not of this world. It's an otherworldly kingdom. It does not have political, military, or economic status or standards. It's in this world, but it doesn't belong to this world. His subjects were not fighting to save him and to set him free. As it is, my kingdom is not here in this world of politics and military might and economics. Okay? Which had to be a total mystery to Pilate. Okay? Pilate's world was about politics. Pilate's world was about military might. Pilate's world was about economics. Pilate's world was about who has this power and how to lord it over those who do not have this power. And the more you lord it over those who do not, the more power you have and they don't. Right? Come on now, you got yourself here. You know, it's warm in here. It's not cold. So, what Jesus was saying to Pilate, it made no sense. So he went back. He said, "So you're a king." Okay. Keeps going back to where he can get a handle on Jesus at all, because he didn't get Jesus. Well, obviously he didn't get Jesus. And Jesus said, "You say I'm a king. That is not why I'm here. There's a reason why I was born. There's a reason why I came into this world, and it's not that." Okay? What is it? I came to testify to the truth. And anyone committed to the truth hears my voice. There's another line you didn't hear yet. It goes like this. Pilate said, "Truth." What does that mean? Which is the most honest question Pilate asked. Okay? And that's God calling. Okay. Pilate confessed to Jesus he does not know what truth means, which is true. He had never seen the truth, which is true. The truth did not exist in his world, which is true. Pilate's world was the world of politics and military power and economics. It was not a world where truth mattered, and therefore it was not a world where truth was recognized. Pilate wouldn't have recognized the truth if he ran into it head first, which he did in Jesus. Okay? So, the most we can say about Pilate is he confessed his ignorance of who Jesus was and what he was bringing. He had no idea. He did not. But what Jesus said is not to be lost in that. He says, anyone. Now when Jesus says anyone, he means anyone. He means in the whole globe, anyone. It is not a distinction of religion. Doesn't mean Jew and not Gentile. Not a distinction of race. Not a distinction of nationality. Not a distinction of language or of culture. He means anyone. Anyone committed to the truth hears my voice. So, the truth exists, okay? And the truth exists in this world of ours. It exists so much you can be committed to it. You can be committed to the truth. And as you are committed to the truth, you hear the voice of Jesus. You hear the message of Jesus. You begin the relationship with Jesus. Only and if you are committed to the truth beyond yourself. Beyond yourself and your immediate gratifications of this world. Okay? Beyond the immediate gratifications of this world. There is the truth that is beyond this. It exists in this world of ours and beyond this world of ours. Now, that word truth or the truth is used only in John's gospel. It's not used in the other gospels, just so you know that. You'll find it there. You'll find it here. He talked about the truth that would set people free. To set them free of what? To set them free politically? No. Economically? No. Militarily? No. To set them free from sin, and with sin comes death. Okay? Death not only the body, death of the soul. And he said that truth comes into this world through the Spirit of truth. The Holy Spirit that Jesus would and did send. Okay? Jesus came to testify to the truth, which means Jesus came to bring the truth into this world. Before Jesus and without Jesus, we cannot get to the truth of God. He is the bearer of truth. He is the bearer of the Spirit of truth. He is the bearer of the Spirit of truth that sets us free from spiritual death. And Pilate, how could Pilate be committed to the truth when he didn't even know it existed? In the next chapter, you get a glimpse of who at that time, on that day, the day of Jesus' death, who was committed to the truth. Totally and completely committed to the truth. Near the cross of Jesus, there stood his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, Mary Magdalene, and the beloved disciple. Near the cross of Jesus, there stood his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, Mary Magdalene, and the beloved disciple. Only in John's Passion do you have anybody standing at the foot of the cross. In the other Passions, nobody's standing at the foot of the cross. Jesus is dying alone. In the Gospel of John, I think, connected with that committed to the truth, hearing my voice, you have 4 people at the foot of the cross. You have 5, I take that back. I can't count this morning. You have his mother's sister, the aunt of Jesus, Mary, the wife of Clopas, obviously a disciple, both he and his Clopas and Mary, and then Mary Magdalene, who followed Jesus all the way from Galilee. And the beloved disciple, which is John, who is the only one of the 12 that did not abandon Jesus. Okay? Of all the people that came to Jerusalem with Jesus in his triumphal entry, of all of those hundreds or maybe thousands, I don't know, there were 5 who were committed to the truth on that day, for that hour, for that act of Jesus offering himself to God. And because they were so committed to the truth, nothing and nobody else mattered. There is nowhere else they could have been at that moment except at the foot of the cross. There was nowhere else they could have been at that moment except the foot of the cross. To hear his voice, to hear his final words, to witness with their own eyes and ears his act of offering himself to God. That's committed to the truth. Being the kind of person whom you should well know after all this time, that my soul and my journey is a process that is far from complete. And I am well aware of that every day of my life. And so when I approach this reality of committed to the truth, it's like I have to kneel in confession, if you will, of how limited my commitment is. It is far from complete. Would I have been one of the 5 at the foot of the cross? Probably not. Probably not. Would I have sought out the other 5? Would I have had this burning desire to know what that experience was? To know what it's like to be committed to the truth. Do I want to know that? Do I want to have a sense of what that is like? What happens to a person when they're that committed? I would hope I would want to know. I have known, actually. My life is very blessed in countless ways. But one of the ways that is obvious today is the persons that I have known in my life who have been truly committed to the truth. They weren't always that way. They weren't born that way. They grew that way over time and experience and the Lord's guidance and the Lord's forgiveness, the Lord's correction and direction. They become people who are committed to the truth. And so things like political realities and economic realities and military realities, those really are quite secondary to where their head and their heart is, to where their conscience is, to where they are willing to take the risk of being at the foot of the cross. That had to be the most risky spot on the planet, to be at the foot of the cross. And yet, I think they were so committed, I just think they were just totally absorbed in Jesus and in his act of offering. They could be nowhere else. And ultimately, I think that's what commitment is. And I think we experience it in a number of ways, and ways that maybe are more down to earth than that concept of truth. There are moments, and I've witnessed them. I've witnessed them in you, and I've witnessed them in others, and I've witnessed them in myself. There are moments when our true commitments come through. It is like, I can be nowhere else and doing nothing else but this. This is where my commitments lie. This is who I am. This is who I choose to be. I want to be nowhere else but here. Now, with this person, with these people, with this act. This is that important to me. That's when we know our commitments.